Today's passage to read is from the book of Revelation, chapter 4. You know that expression, words failed me? Remember the feelings that go with it? That sense that what you're thinking or feeling can't be expressed adequately in words, or that so many words want to come tumbling out all at once that they get jammed and nothing comes out, or that the magnitude of what has happened leaves you just mentally paralysed and in shock. Words failed me. Sometimes we don't have the vocabulary to express our thoughts and our feelings. Nothing seems adequate. The writer of the book of Revelation probably felt like that. Today we might call him a mystic, one who sees visions or who experiences an unusual close communion with God. Some mystics eschew words, refusing to try and contain their experiences within human speech. Hindu mystics may use negatives. Brahman is not this, not that, neti, neti. Perhaps because as soon as you start to describe God in some way, you must also acknowledge that your description is wholly inadequate and could be misleading. St. John the Divine did use words to convey what he saw to others. But as you read it, you can tell, although he's doing his best, the words aren't adequate, the concepts burst out. And if you try to paint or draw a visual representation of his visions, it becomes impossible, as the images change and switch and merge, a bit like a kaleidoscope as you turn it, and the shapes and colours form and reform. All of this means that it would be a mistake to imagine that we can read a passage like this and have a clear picture of what God or heaven is like. Artists have tried to depict these scenes, but the pictures seem to me a poor or faint depiction, lacking the sense of awe and wonder that even the words evoke. So, what can we gain from this passage? What was the point of recording these visions? One point we've already made, that God is beyond our imagination, beyond our grasp, neti, neti, beyond this, beyond that. Often the Bible uses close, familiar metaphors for God, like Father, and we need that intimacy. We have a deep need for it. But it's not the last word, just one approach. We also need the reminder that God is beyond such images, in case we should fall into the mistake of thinking that we have got God taped. Our ideas of God are way more likely to be too small than too big. A second point is the sheer beauty of the scene that the words evoke. It sets up in me a deep yearning, a sense that here is something of ultimate value, something that has touched my deepest needs and longings. And if you respond like that to this passage, that tells us more about heaven and about God than any visual or concrete images. One definition of God is that than which nothing greater can be conceived. Anselm coined this phrase in the 11th century. Any description of heaven or God that does not seem appealing is not worth bothering about. If you can think of something greater or better, then the first idea was wrong. And a third point is about the mystery of heaven and of God. Think of the four living creatures, weird and wonderful, mixtures of this and that, human, animal, eyes, wings, creatures which traditionally we associate with the four evangelists, the man for Matthew, the lion for Mark, the ox for Luke, and the eagle for John. What do we make of these four living creatures? I have really no idea. And that's about the mystery of heaven. If we don't understand the concept of heaven, it's really not surprising, since we are mortals here on earth. And none of this makes complete sense to us. It may seem like a cop-out to say that we won't fully understand until we get there, but it's probably true. So, if the idea of heaven seems to you boring, for example, strumming harps, being good all the time or whatever, take heart. The reality has to be a very great deal better and larger and quite other than what we imagine. Perhaps one day we will be as thrilled as St. John was with his vision. Perhaps one day we will be saying, "Oh wow, this is what he meant. Now I get it."